Nice job, Mr. Lally.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, we're going to call up Chief Doug Cole to go over the police budget.
Hi, she needs one too, if you have an extra.
What page, Chief?
I'm sorry, I don't have the same, hang on, maybe I do.
Okay, well,
Wait, I saw
I
it.
got it.
What page is it?
18A is what I'm looking at.
How you doing?
Well, 17, yeah.
Thank you, young lady.
There you are.
18.
18A.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. Oh, I remember when you were putting this together.
18A. Are we doing goals first? No, 18A is,
It's
police
22 for goals, 2016 goals.
No, they'd
chief.
be
Oh,
up.
22.
Yeah, 16 goals. You guys, I don't have the same book that you have.
Your goals first there, Chief.
Just your goals.
Yeah. Well, again, glad to be here. Thanks for the time. Deputy
to
Mayor
have you.
Griesok, glad that, manager. I have, Mayor. I do have a comment. I do. You know, certainly I guess the way to start off initially is the police department's certainly done a lot more this past year, meaning 2015, even starting in 14, with less. The beginning of this year, we had 2 more retirements, so we're now down to 44 officers, including myself. And in doing so, you know, we've increased the amount of contacts with the citizens, as you saw here even today. One of the reasons the Cub Scout troop was here was because we were doing with the help of Karen, my secretary, we were doing a tour of the municipal building, so they were up here anyway, so we decided to send them on up to the council meeting too.
Thank you for that.
Great idea, Karen. Good job.
Thank you, Karen.
I brought Karen and I also brought Dave O'Neill along to talk about the vehicles because that usually is one of our more reoccurring expenses that we have every year. So the department is you know, certainly involved in as many activities as it possibly can be. The patrol division is down to 37 officers, including 7 supervisors in the patrol division itself. Special Operations Division, which includes the detectives, has 5 with the supervisor. We have 1 SRO, and then we have me as the chief overseeing the all 43 officers below me. My objectives is basically for next year. I got 5. I think they're pretty high-end objectives to some extent. One is the number 1 goal is to get the department accredited. It's something we've actually been talking about going back when Chief Polnar was still here. About accrediting through the PA Chiefs of Police Association. There's retired chiefs now that can help us do this so we don't have to dedicate one individual. Accreditation is a pretty extensive review of the department to meet what they call national standards or standards at the state level. They kind of mirror the national standards. So just a good project to do to take a look at what you're doing inside and see how you can do it maybe a little better. I think we'll have no problem passing it. You get evaluated by evaluators, so that's one objective I'd like to get going here this year. If it doesn't get done this year, certainly get done in 2017. I always put hire new officers. You know, obviously we lost 2. This budget, holding what we've done here manpower-wise, does not show an increase in officers. Also understanding the contractual situations that we're in currently, but the idea of hiring at least 2, preferably 4, would be something I would really entertain once we have a better handle of what the budget's going to be or what new hires are going to cost us.
There's no new hires in the budget now?
There is none in the budget now.
Okay.
That's correct. Number 3 is a UHF radio system. What it is the updating radio from VHF, which the police department's still currently on. As of this past couple months, we are the last agency in Allegheny County in law enforcement. And I could probably say public safety. There may be 1 or 2 other that aren't on UHF bandwidth, or they call that the UHF spectrum. We are the last law enforcement agency that's on VHF.
State police as well?
State police are at a combination of a VHF and an 800 system. They're primarily on their 800 system. So they're on even a different band.
This isn't in your budget either?
That's more of a capital. It's not in this operating
Okay.
budget.
Do we have a cost on this?
Currently, no. One of the things we're waiting for is the state of Pennsylvania to pass a budget. Representative Markozik has offered to help us with some type of a grant funding there.
Okay.
You're looking at something would be probably in the neighborhood of at least the high $800,000 range to do the system. It'll necessitate changing receivers, transmitters, microwaves, all mobiles and all portables in the police department.
Does that have to be all done at one time?
Yeah, and when you go to that band,
When
it
you
does.
go that, you have to,
Because we're on a completely different band. We're on VHF, which is the 150 megahertz. We want to get up into the 450, 460
and that will have the
megahertz.
communication between the officers better and,
What it will enable us to do is talk to anybody in the county in addition to
Okay.
our own officers as well as the fire department. The fire department and EMS are currently on the UHF band already.
okay.
So yes, that's a major goal, of course, a major expense. Grant money would be a great idea with this, obviously, is what I'm hoping for, understanding that the full budget being handled by us is not appropriate. We also have some asset seizure money that can be used for that too, so the impact to us should be not as dramatic as $800,000, or it will not be as dramatic as $800,000. Goal number 4, you had the IS team up here before me. Information services. As we start talking about 5-year useful life of everything from computers in the cars to desktop computers to in-car camera systems to Wi-Fi downloads to the Munis system to the Telestaff system. I just went on to the radio system. Or we use computers for our whole record management system in public safety. All of that is affected by information services. Need I tell any of you here? Certainly, I've always believed, not always believed, I certainly believe that I need to have more help in that area in the police department. To the point, I'm not saying we need to hire another person for that, or we currently have a subcontract for that of another agency. We've got to figure a way to get our arms better around that information services. And I also look at this not just as a police department issue, I look at it as a public safety issue because we have our own dispatch center still. There's multiple avenues there. It's just something we need to look at to be a little bit better with the IS. And in the future, that's going to be even more stuff. And that's the next goal here, body cameras. There's a couple reasons why body cameras will not be happening in 2016, in my opinion. One of which is going to be the state laws that govern body cameras and the dissemination of the video. Body cameras are something, though, that's going to happen in the future here. We've got to start looking, and the idea to get ahead of that curve, look at how we're going to do it and do it appropriately so it doesn't end up costing us $1 million. 50 body cameras, 45 body cameras, to download the video, to maintain that, to keep everything current with that, to make sure you're doing it appropriately when you disseminate it, to be able to store it. I'm hearing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
You think that's going to start being a state requirement?
Well, I'm hoping the state changes the law. They're currently looking at different laws that the chiefs of police organizations have backed to change how stuff's disseminated, meaning video, what has to be disseminated, what does not. I'm hoping they do that. They may do that in conjunction with trying to force it. I don't want to say force, but certainly give incentives for people law enforcement agencies to have them.
Well, that would be then, if they pass that law, then there would be like grants available to help with the purchasing?
You ever heard of unfunded state mandates?
Yes.
Unfunded federal mandates?
I can
The sad
always-
part is,
I
the
can
old
always
adage.
be hopeful.
I always like to use this, the locals have the feds have all the money, states have all the power, and the locals have all the headaches.
Yeah.
It's really very true. I don't know where that's going to end up at. My guess is they won't make it mandatory, but the state of South Carolina has made it mandatory.
Okay.
And different states are starting to do that. But when they do that, they put protections in under the right to know and different stuff like that. So
Right.
they do everything they can.
So let me ask you a question. As far as your goals go, the 5 goals, if you're saying beginning the process on the accreditation, that probably won't happen until the following year because of the time to do all of that, right?
Conceivably, we could get it done in 16. That could be done in 16. These other projects, obviously are open-ended because I certainly don't believe we're going to be in body cameras. I'm just trying to give a
Yeah.
heads up here to that. We will not be in body cameras in 16. Certainly, the IS issue is going to have, there's a contract, a service contract we have with another group here that's going to have to be looked at probably halfway through the year.
Okay.
I'm just putting that out to be aware that that's something we're very concerned about.
Okay.
And then, of course, the UHF radio system I really think is subject to grants.
Okay.
We can continue to survive on the VHF here for the next couple, 2-3 years. But again, that VHF system, just so everybody understands, is 1980 system. It's 80s
Right,
technology. It's well over its useful life.
Okay.
And even that VHF system with parts and stuff can also be moved to, that equipment doesn't have to totally be lost because our public works is on VHF. They can stay on VHF. It's not a problem.
Okay.
So there's issues about getting frequencies on UHF. There's a whole host of issues. Again, I'm trying to give council just a
So
head-
really, I think
heads
goal
up.
4 is the most important one. at this point?
Say again?
Goal 4 for this year?
Well, that is,
That's the,
if you look at the most
The
important ones,
ongoing?
obviously that's, yeah, okay, we can start with it.
Thank you.
But I mean, if you look at it from the whole, I mean, it's
Yeah.
all kind of intertwined here, because
Okay.
certainly even the UHF radio system is going to have to depend on IS stuff.
right.
So
Right,
that's certainly the
so,
case.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
So some of these goals in goal 4, I mean, with the computers, I mean, was that some of what Tina just asked for, or is
That's
this
part of it
additional?
is the update, but it's going to be additional, I believe, too. I believe there's going to be issues that we're going to still have to deal with, especially in our Alert TS, our software, which includes, and again, looking at it as a public safety, both the fire, EMS, as well as the police department. There's
doesn't
upgrades
really
that need
have
to
it
be
in
done.
until
And
17.
I got to start looking at, my computers in the cars are coming up on their 5-year life. I got another year out of them, but they're there too.
Body cameras?
Body
any other-
cameras is still
Any
a-
other departments in Allegheny County utilizing them yet? Do you know of?
The city of Pittsburgh's had a trial basis with them. Nobody's using them department-wide, as we sit now, that I'm aware of. They're all waiting for that, too. The state's, just so everybody understands, especially out in TV land here, the state is certainly looking at some legislative. They know they have to change the Right to Know Act and certain things in order for those body cameras to even, I mean, Seattle, the big talk is Seattle here, again, not in our state, obviously in the West Coast. They have 900 officers with body cameras, and they had a right to know claim that wanted every video from 900 officers for the past 30 days.
Oh, my gosh.
Shut their camera system down. They took them off. They couldn't do it physically. They lost a court battle and had to produce it. The Ninth Circuit out there made them, you have to produce it. So now they're trying to get into, it was a YouTube person who wanted to do it on YouTube. So now they're trying to get into some type of an agreement, but they took them off. They shut them down. And then this has been going on for 6-8 months. They're getting into some type of agreement where they're going to actually, the YouTube operator is going to play those videos. They're going to have to disseminate them. Wow. And I'm not sure, from a privacy standpoint, that's even something we want to even talk
That's the
about.
that's in San Francisco.
Ninth Circuit,
Ninth
yeah.
Ninth District.
It's a very liberal area out there, obviously.
Wow.
Seattle's, in that Ninth Circuit. So, I mean, and when they talk about the cameras have come down. We spend $5,000 for an in-car camera. A body camera's $400. But that's not the problem. The technology is obviously jumping and jumping, as we all know. But the real problem is that how do we manage that data? They call it mine the data. How do we store it? How do we properly disseminate it? And that becomes hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay.
So that's the issue. I did pass out a quick overview here, outline of how the department's going to look here January 1. Currently looks to, it's going to be changing here. Actually, our bids are going out here in November, so there'll be that. And it's basically the same. We try to do the same thing. We kept our special units to a minimum, and we're keeping as many officers as we can, a total of 37 uniformed officers on all 3 shifts on patrol. Second shift running the most calls. It's going to have 13 officers. The other 2 shifts, daylight and second, are going to have 12 officers on each. As we sit here. And as you're all well aware, most of that is all contract. Actually, it's contract driven as to when we have to bid the shifts, and we have to bid steady shifts. As you're aware of the negotiations that are going on, that may change with new hires and stuff like that. So it depends on what the arbitration award is. Anybody wants to ask about the budget?
Chief, any
Please do.
plans for adding some K-9 officers? Or
We put money into the K-9 account, same as last year. I'd have maybe a little bit more. For that, we have 1 K-9 that still works third shift way. It's bid the third. My goal is to add another K-9 unit for this year. Now, the K-9 officer, though, one of the things that we have to do prior to that is negotiate. We have an outside the bargaining unit negotiation on with K-9 how they get compensated. There's a bunch of labor standard rules that we have to follow, which compensates them for their off days taking care of the dogs, as well as how we compensate them for they work just 7-hour days. They get an hour.
so you don't have a template from other officers that were K-9 officers?
No, we do have temp. We currently have it under, but we've got to change how we do that.
Okay.
And that's something we'd have to sit down and discuss with the bargaining unit.
I feel that, and I don't have any experience, obviously, in
Right.
police work, but I think a K-9, an additional K-9 would be extremely important to the safety of our officers.
And I'm in agreement with you that I'd like to go to 2 K-9 officers, have one on second shift and one on third, at this point, based on the call volume that I have. I do have the K-9 usages. I actually got them for us here. And I want to make sure that I think that's the best use of those officers, but they are considered patrol officers, so they don't impact us out of the patrol division. They still count into our minimum staffing, which we continue to keep at the same levels that we've kept for many, many years. And you know, obviously in doing that, to make sure that there's no
Yeah, if you
overtime
have
associated
them
with
on
it.
second shift and third shift, you can
That
always
would be the
call them
most-
out for first. if you need
That's
to.
correct, we can.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool.
I have one question.
Yes.
On page 18A, under the contract service fees, and Sean, you may be able to answer this one. It's been 000, now there's a $20,000 fee.
Which line is it, Linda?
It is 2105, 2730.
I think, as I was trying to explain to Harold with the fire suppression, I believe that has to do with radio contracts. That's going to be
That's what that's-
for taking care of radios, but let me check one.
Because it's been 000, now there's a $20,000.
Doug, I think when we met with Tim way back when, I think that's what you had said that was for.
Yeah, I was anticipating that we weren't going to have the same, and that's what I'm pretty sure it was for here, but on my notes, I have it in this file. No, I thought I'd have the notes in there. One last look here.
Could that be why on the fire suppression is low, and this was put there? I mean,
We need, what occurred before with the fire suppression, when we had these service contracts for the radios,
With Staley?
it was Staley's, top of my head, and this has now been going about 3 or 4 years ago, they were roughly, the fire department was roughly, the police department was roughly around 12,000-ish, the fire department was 17,000-ish, so there was like a 35 grand contract service fee for everything involved. It included, I think, Public Works too.
Okay.
So that was all just absorbed into one of the budget lines, and I think that's the reason I did that, is because I anticipate that we're going to have to do that, and that would also include maintaining the radios, which is also, you'll see contract service fees in the dispatch center side, of communication side of it.
40,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that also includes the contract service fees for Alert TS and for different softwares that we
Gotcha.
have to maintain.
Okay.
So that was just trying to make sure there was enough money to go to a radio service contract.
Okay.
I am totally in favor of going to a radio service contract. We've got to do something municipality-wide, including the public safety, again, looking at it as a public safety. We have to do it because of our dispatch center and certainly because of all the mobiles and portables that we have in all the units here.
Why don't we have that contract anymore?
The reason initially we just got out of it was we were trying to save money years ago. It was under Marshall bond, actually, so it was actually before 2010. The reason we did that was we went to this other company that was cheaper, and we just had to call in and get a PO, and there was a bunch of hoops we had to jump through. Where Staley, they service all that equipment. They put all that equipment in. They know what the serial numbers of everything is. All you got to do is call them up, and they come and take care of it.
Okay.
And so it's really even more important because of the microwave systems that we now have in place, which are the way to transmit the phone lines without using phone lines, transmit the radio waves through phone lines without using phone lines, and then, of course, all the individual transmitter towers we have, plus the receivers that we have throughout the municipality here.
So we need to go back to a contract then, a maintenance contract?
We do, and Tim did bring up a very good point, is the fact that we're not sure, they're not on what they call co-stars, so there's an issue about bidding it.
Oh,
That's one of the big issues that we're struggling with at the moment.
Okay.
And he's right on the money on that.
Staley offers a great service, and they have a lot of the police departments and fire companies all across Allegheny County. They
The Western
offer-
PA, actually, yeah.
yeah.
They're there, boom. But as we were talking about, they're not on a state contract, and that would have to be bid out, sealed bid. But then again, I don't know anybody else.
That's going to do it. They're going to be a sole provider. They're going to be a sole provider.
So we're going to go out for bid then?
Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know.
Well, it's,
We may not have to because they're a sole provider, but
Okay.
we've got to figure that out.
At least-
And whether it's also biddable, I guess, because it's a large value, I guess, our belief is it may have to be bid, but certainly it's just going to be a
okay,
matter
but the
of,
money's in the budget to do it.
that's what we're trying to
Okay.
do. And that's why you saw
That's-
that big increase. in
Okay,
that.
that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
It has to do with that, but it also has to do with the Alert TS contracts too. That's our software provider, because there's updates and licenses for mobile licenses in the field for the computers and all of that
Okay,
too.
great,
So it's both that.
great.
And again, as I said at the beginning, the budget reflects our current staffing of 44 officers for salaries.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah. That's been pretty easy. It's good to be last, huh?
We,
Anybody have a
anything,
question?
I just
Go ahead,
have a quick question, probably more for Tim. How's the leasing going? Is that looking like it's paying off? Police vehicles?
well, it's not only the police vehicles, but it's obviously for the fire vehicles. Well, yeah, it's the same concept if you would, although this is a lease purchase, at the end of the lease, you get it, there's no residual on it if you lease a car yourself. It's paying off because anytime you go to leasing, which most municipalities, cities, states, counties have all done that because it's a cash flow issue. Instead of shelling out millions of dollars, maybe not in our case, but in our case, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you lease it. It's a cash flow issue. So is it working? Sure. Because we don't have, we're not putting the bonds, we usually take that out of the bond money.
And I actually have a question, too. We're not obviously showing that on an operating budget, correct?
No.
Okay.
No, we're not, but as you and I have talked, Doug,
That's coming, huh? Okay.
Doug kind of peeked under the hood, no pun intended, last year and said, well, Tim, we're going to have this in operating one of these days, and Doug's probably right.
How long are vehicles lasting?
Well, that's good, and that's, obviously, I brought Dave, so let Dave make a quick statement here. Yeah, and he doesn't seem to really, we are following a resolution. It's one of the things I'm going to bring up for next month's meeting, the resolution about vehicles and how we purchase vehicles and how we need to look at that resolution. It's not something we're able to follow, especially with the new leasing. And we're looking for 3 cars next year. We keep them for 100,000 miles, Ron. We keep the police vehicles for 100,000 miles, and then we replace them. And by resolution, we're not allowed to pass them down to another, they're supposed to be auctioned off.
Oh.
So there's some things we need to look at there.
To add to that, what you want to do is get on a 3-year cycle. Next year will be our 3rd year, and then obviously with the leases, that will increase the lease for police vehicles. And then when you go into 17, it'll just be a revolving lease. Then it'll be a virtual static invoice or bill, expense, I should say, expenditure. Depending on when you go for leases in 18, 19, 20, 2021, depending on where interest rates are, then it'll change a little bit, but it'll be a basic.
Are we buying SUVs or sedans or both, or?
Yeah, we're staying with the utilities. We've decided that that's the best size car for
Sedan
everybody.
thing didn't seem to be going very good.
Some people like them, though. Councilman Harvey, some of the officers like them. They shrunk them so much. The bigger guys can't get in and out of them. They just
What
can't.
about prisoners?
Well, again, there's enough room in the back. We have the prisoner, we
the trunk.
don't, we don't have vans. Let's make sure we have no prisoner transport vans. Everybody knows that. But no, we have the seats. Actually, it's one advantage you can get that as an option coming from the dealer, where we have the seats that are the plastic seats like we've had for many years, and the cages, as we call it. So and we can seat belt the individuals in the back with no problem, and we do that routinely.
I assume the SUVs are holding up better than the sedans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Outstandingly, but they were well-thought-out vehicles. Ford put their thought into them. Even the cars the same way. They were both well-thought-out vehicles. As a little side note, I was teaching a class with a bunch of state troopers that were involved in vehicle maintenance, and they're doing 60-40. They buy 60% SUVs, the Pennsylvania State Police, and 40% sedans. So we're going to switch over to a whole 100% SUVs, except less specialty vehicles.
Okay.
Very good.
Bicycles.
Okay?
I
Thanks, everybody.
want to thank you as the chief and the department of the police officers for the jobs you guys do here in Monroeville.
Yeah, I'd like to really reiterate to council and mayor, deputy mayor and manager, the department's really done more with less here. Our UCRs are going to be up this year. We're getting more involved in arrests and retail thefts, so that's the reason why. It's not necessarily crime has gone up,
Right.
but we're seeing more types of crime. We're getting involved because of the state mandating things like these firearms we have to go research now. I got 10 or 15 of them sitting on my desk here. They got to be assigned out, where we have to go when people try to purchase a firearm, and the PICS check works. For the public here, it's working very well. They get denied. Their form they filled out, they had to lie on it somewhere. So that eventually gets kicked back through the state police. Takes a couple months. If they buy it in Monroeville, whether it's at a gun show or one of our gun, we have Dick's and
Right.
Dunham's, I guess, but we're going to have Gander
could-
Mountain, which is going to
yes.
get even worse.
Right.
Our detectives and the patrol division's taking a lot more calls for that, and we're making arrests on that. So we have to follow that up. The other thing that's got us too is the Sandusky laws, we're calling it now, for child abuse cases, we are getting, percentage-wise, 200 or 300% more of these incidents that we have to investigate.
Wow.
Not more child abuse. We're getting, it's been staying the same. That hasn't changed. But because people become reporters now, we get notified of that, and we have to put hours into that. Most of them, vast majority, 95% of them are nothing to them. But we've got to then put manpower hours in to go under, to investigate quote-unquote alleged child abuse.
Okay.
And that's taking a lot more hit on the department. That's something we never had to do before. So
And that's
when-
mandated now.
That's all mandated.
Okay.
And that's stuff that we're getting from the state. Well, actually, the child abuse comes through it comes from the state, but goes to the county.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, if you call in a child abuse line, automatically that's getting to us. But the Sandusky law made it that more people became mandatory reporters. And they
Okay.
had more individual classes, i.e., Doc, you're one of them now too, if you didn't know that, okay? School teachers, more people became mandatory reporters, and that got us involved in more cases that we have to put man hours to.
Okay.
So that we've really done a lot more with less. So,
I appreciate it.
Okay.
I think
I
we all
appreciate
do.
it.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so
Good
much.
job.
Thanks, Doug.